Every year, the world consumes over 7 million tons of chocolate. It's in our desserts, our coffee, our comfort food. A $130 billion industry built on one of the world's favorite flavors. But behind every chocolate bar lies a story most of us never see. A story of poverty, exploitation, and environmental destruction. Today, we're uncovering the dark truth about chocolate, a crisis hidden in plain sight. Let's start with a simple question. Where does chocolate come from? Most people know cocoa beans are the answer, but here's what's shocking. 70% of the world's cocoa comes from just one region, West Africa. Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana alone produce over half of the world's supply. These countries are responsible for the chocolate in your pantry, yet the average cocoa farmer earns less than $1 per day. That's well below the extreme poverty line. Think about that for a moment. While chocolate companies generate billions in profits, the people actually growing the cocoa can barely afford to feed their families. Many have never even tasted chocolate. The International Labour Organization estimates that over 1.5 million children work in cocoa production in West Africa alone. We're not talking about kids helping out on family farms for a few hours. We're talking about dangerous labor, using machetes, carrying heavy loads, and exposure to pesticides. A 2020 report found that child labor in cocoa production actually increased by 14% over the previous decade, despite industry promises to eliminate it. Some children are trafficked from neighboring countries, separated from their families, and forced to work without pay. So how did we get here? How did our love for chocolate create such suffering? To understand the crisis, we need to understand the system. Cocoa farming in West Africa has colonial roots. And in many ways, that exploitative structure never really went away. Here's how it works. Farmers grow and harvest cocoa beans. They sell to local middlemen who sell to larger traders. These traders sell to massive corporations like Cargill, Barry Callebaut, and Olam, companies you've probably never heard of but who control most of the world's cocoa trade. Finally, these beans reach chocolate manufacturers like Nestlé, Mars, Hershey's, and others. At every step, someone takes a cut. But here's the problem. Farmers are at the bottom of this chain with zero bargaining power. Cocoa prices are set on international commodity markets, fluctuating wildly. When prices drop, farmers absorb the loss. When prices rise, middlemen and corporations capture most of the profit. Farmers typically receive only about 6% of the final price of a chocolate bar. Making matters worse, most cocoa farms in West Africa are small, just a few acres, and use outdated farming methods. The trees are aging and producing less cocoa. Without money to invest in their farms, farmers are trapped in a cycle of poverty. And when you're that desperate, you make desperate choices, like employing cheap or free labor. But there's another victim in this story: the forests. Côte d'Ivoire has lost over 80% of its forests since 1960, much of it due to cocoa farming. As soil degrades and old trees produce less, farmers clear protected forests to plant new cocoa. This destruction threatens endangered species and contributes to climate change. So we have poverty, child labor, and environmental destruction. For decades, chocolate companies have known about these problems. So what have they done about it? In 2001, major chocolate companies signed the Harkin-Engel Protocol, a voluntary agreement to eliminate the worst forms of child labor in cocoa production by 2005. That deadline came and went. So did the revised deadlines of 2008, 2010, and 2020. Today, every major chocolate company has sustainability programs, fair trade certifications, child labor monitoring systems, pledges to source 100% sustainable cocoa. The websites are full of feel-good stories and impressive statistics. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Child labor has actually increased during this time. Forest destruction continues. Farmer poverty remains endemic. Investigative journalists have repeatedly exposed the gap between corporate promises and reality. Certification schemes that don't effectively monitor farms. Traceability systems that don't actually trace cocoa back to its source. Sustainability programs that reach only a fraction of farmers. Why the failure? Several reasons. First, these programs are voluntary. There's no real enforcement mechanism. Second, they often focus on symptoms rather than the root cause: poverty. teaching farmers better techniques doesn't help if they still can't earn a living wage. Third, companies aren't willing to pay significantly more for cocoa because it would hurt their profit margins. Major chocolate companies have seen their profits grow substantially over the past 2 decades. Meanwhile, cocoa farmer incomes have stagnated or declined in real terms. It's a system that was never designed to benefit farmers. It was designed to ensure cheap cocoa for corporations. The answer is yes, but it requires real change, not just marketing campaigns. First, farmers need to earn a living income, not just minimum wage, but enough to actually support their families and invest in their farms. Research suggests cocoa prices would need to increase by 30–40% for this to happen. That translates to maybe 10–20 cents more per chocolate bar for consumers. That's it. Second, we need truly transparent and traceable supply chains. Some companies are pioneering direct trade relationships with farmer cooperatives, cutting out exploitative middlemen. Blockchain technology is being tested to track cocoa from farm to factory. Third, governments need to step up, both producing countries and consumer countries. The European Union is working on legislation that would require companies to prove their products don't contribute to deforestation or human rights abuses. We need more of this. Fourth, investment in farmers themselves, training, equipment, diversification. Many successful programs help farmers grow other crops alongside cocoa, providing income stability and improving soil health. But here's the thing, none of this happens without pressure. Companies change when consumers demand it and when regulation requires it. Chocolate doesn't have to come with this dark truth. The crisis isn't inevitable, it's the result of choices. Choices by corporations to prioritize profit over people. Choices by consumers to remain uninformed. Choices by governments to look the other way. So what can you do? Look for truly ethical chocolate brands. Companies that pay premium prices and have transparent supply chains. Every time we buy chocolate, we're casting a vote for the kind of world we want. For too long, that vote has supported a system of exploitation. It's time we chose differently. The sweetness of chocolate shouldn't come at the cost of children's childhoods, farmers' livelihoods, or our planet's forests.